A few weeks ago, I took a look at the first action figure from the new NECA Ultimate Sesame Street collection, Ernie, and I was insanely impressed by it. NECA is a toy company that produces collector-focused action figures based on a bunch of iconic properties. They mainly do horror movies, but they also have a few other licenses. I'm a pretty big fan of their Back to the Future and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures, and to see them get the rights to Sesame Street is honestly a dream come true. To me, they're kind of like the modern-day equivalent of Palisades Toys, who made those incredible Muppet action figures in the early 2000s. They have incredible detail on these guys. Just look at that. That looks beautiful. And an absolute ton of great accessories, both well-known and obscure. The figure's designer is clearly a fan of the Palisades Muppets line, and has even shared some images of his own Palisades figures online on his social media, which clearly inspired this new Sesame Street line. Back in the day, Palisades was supposed to do Sesame Street figures, but the company went out of business before they could, and it's clear that NECA here, 20 years later, is picking up the slack, even including Palisades' old concept of including Muppet letters with each of the figures. All of these guys come with really great accessories, some of them very well-known ones like Rubber Ducky here, some of them a bit more obscure, and they also have all the amenities you'd expect from modern collector-focused action figures, with really solid articulation, allowing you to get these Muppets in poses that the puppets themselves probably can't even move in. And they also come with not only a ton of great accessories, but also a lot of alternate pieces to maximize displayability. Ernie, for example, came with an alternate head with a closed mouth and about 6 different hands total, so you could really do a lot with these. Ernie was number 1 in the line, but he wasn't released alone, as fittingly, at the exact same time as Ernie, his old buddy Bert released as well. And today, we're gonna open him up. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Muptown Funk. As always, I'm your host, Ty, and today I'm super excited to take a look at another NECA Ultimate Sesame Street figure. Today we're taking a look at number 2 in the line, Bert. Now, Ernie and Bert were released at the same time, and I have heard reports that the third figure in this line, the Count, is hitting some Target stores. Guys, I've been looking all over the place. Unfortunately, I haven't found him just yet, but I'm hoping to. These action figures are in a 7-inch scale, retailing for about $35 a piece, and they are incredibly well detailed down to the box. I gushed about these figures in general an absolute ton when I reviewed Ernie, and one of my favorite things about them are their boxes, which are styled after the old Sesame Street Treasury books from the 80s. Really clever, pretty obscure and niche, but still pretty classic and iconic. I really, really love what they did here. We have Sesame Street Presents NECA Ultimate Action Figure featuring the letter A, of course, Bert. We have this beautiful original artwork here. Something I love about NECA's figures is that they actually credit all the people that made them, so we can shout out who did the artwork, that being Aaron Hazuri, who also did the art on Ernie's box, and I believe is continuing to do the art for the other figures in this line as well. I don't like the image on Bert's box as much as the one on Ernie's. It's interesting. Ernie's is kind of just a generic drawing of him holding up Rubber Ducky, but Bert's is a bit more of a scene. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the character's art is in the future. If they kind of do just drawings of them or if they do more scene-like images. I think I kind of prefer just art of the character themselves, not necessarily a full scenario, but doing a full snenario is a bit more reminiscent of Sesame Street Treasury. By the way, if you guys ever want to see me do a video on the Sesame Street Treasury, let me know. I would love to go through this. This book was a very big part of my childhood, and I'm hoping to get some of the other volumes someday. Anyway, we see Bert here on a New York City rooftop with his bottle cap collection alongside a pigeon who it looks like maybe took one of the bottle caps, or maybe the pigeon has the last bottle cap Bert needs to complete his board. You can see a couple different symbols and logos, no references here or anything. I would have loved if one of these were for Figgy Fizz, which is a pretty frequently mentioned soda on Sesame Street back in the day that Bert had a lot of bottle caps from. I assume this is supposed to be Bernice, but obviously there's not like confirmation or anything. Could just be kind of a generic pigeon. The art style on Bert, very cartoony, very stylized. And the pigeon really reminds me of those kind of early 2000s Sesame Street coloring books. Really drew pigeons in that way, and kind of a more cartoony art style than the show, which used, real pigeons, uses real pigeons whenever Bernice is relevant. You can see volume 2 here, letting you know this is figure 2 in the collection, doing a great job combining the action figure box with, again, the Sesame Street Treasury book. You also have that iconic Ernie and Bert reading logo, which is where NECA put their own logo here. That actually isn't present on Sesame Street Treasury, at least not on my copy of it, but it's still an iconic part of Sesame Street books. On the side, loving this artwork here with Bert standing on a number block with the number 2 on it. Absolutely perfect. Goes really well with Ernie, who of course had number 1 there. On the back of the box, we see some product shots of Bert himself with a lot of his accessories, Bernice, paper clips, bottle caps, and his iconic Boring Stories book. Again, my Sesame Street Treasury has nothing on the back except this note and a bunch of crayon. I don't know who did that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't me. I was always a bit more respectful towards books. Anyway, on the bottom of the box, again, we have the credits for who designed this, including the directors, the sculpt. Paul Harding is who I was referring to earlier, who has kind of shared images of his own Palisades figures. But also we have to credit Brody Perkins here, who's there as well. Accessories include the letter A, box of paper clips, bottle cap collection, pigeon, so I guess it doesn't technically say Bernice, but whatever. Boring Stories book, interchangeable heads and hands, and there's also a note here letting you know that Bert features interchangeable eyebrows. I guess there wasn't a better place to put that, so they just packed it in on the bottom there. But yeah, apparently you could swap out his eyebrows, which allows for even more expression, which is pretty cool. So now let's open this guy up. Ah, there he is. These just look so good, guys. On the inside, we have a really nice full body shot of Bert there. And you can see Bert himself, complete with his alternate open mouth head and a lot of his accessories. Box of paper clips, the Boring Stories book, which is currently open. You can see all the little scribbles inside representing writing, bottle caps, Bernice, 4 other hands, and the letter A, who looks pretty goofy. So we're gonna take this guy out of the box here. Just gotta take off, I think it's only, yeah, this one piece of tape. Gonna cut through that and pull him on out. Also, for the record, in case you missed it, if you do want to keep this box intact, it's actually Velcroed, which is super nice. This is something that NECA does for a lot of their figures, which I really appreciate. Lets you kind of protect the item, but also, yeah, still keep them in there, still make them visible, which I really appreciate. All right, so pulling out the packaging here, there we go. One step closer to freeing Bert, and right behind him, we have this really nice artwork, I believe done by the same person who did the art on the front of the box. This is the exact same artwork that you see on the inside of Ernie's box, so it looks like it's going to be consistent throughout the figures, but it's this very nice Sesame Street backdrop. Loving the artwork on these. Love that it's original artwork and not just reused assets. I also love that they even got away with the old CTW Sesame Street logo instead of the 1-2-3 Sesame Street logo that they kind of legally use nowadays, now that the CTW isn't really, you know, a thing in the same sense. But yeah, that's not something you see referenced often on Sesame Street stuff these days. So that is super cool. So here's Bert and all of his accessories. We are going to have to cut several rubber bands to get him out. So I'm going to start popping out these pieces. And yeah, we will be right back in just a minute. Taking out all of these. Take out the letter A. Trying to save the plastic as best I can, kind of fit it back to form, because I have been fully saving these boxes and actually storing the accessories I'm not using on display back inside of them. Here we have all of Bert's other hands. Now all that's left is Bert himself. Look at him, he looks so he looks so indifferent in there. Okay, so we've got Bert opened up out of the box, and honestly, just seeing this in person is so insanely surreal to me. I've dreamed of a toy line like this since I was so young, first learning about the Palisades line, and to have it now is absolutely insane, and these figures look so much better than I could have possibly imagined. Look at that. That is absolutely incredible. I am just insanely impressed. So we're going to take a look at Bert first, then we'll take a look at the accessories and his alternate pieces, do some swapping out, so make sure you stick around for that. Anyway, starting off with the face here. Yeah, it looks like Bert. Looks like he's got a little string stuck on him. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I was really surprised when I first saw images of this guy, of the thick black rims around the eyes, but I realized it's actually something that's been on most incarnations of the Bert puppet. I think if I were designing this, I probably wouldn't have included it as prominently, but that is something that Bert has. So yeah, just like Ernie, he has a really wide range of motion for the head. It's on a ball joint there. You can get him looking in so many different angles. Like I said before, the posability for these is really, really great. Very like modern action figure posability, and I'm insanely impressed by it. Obviously, the movement is going to be hindered by his sweater. Just like Ernie, the sweater is actually sort of a kind of vinyl-y, soft plastic piece that goes over the body. So it is kind of squishy. You can see the back of my Bert is kind of depressed. Can I kind of try to poof that back into the right shape? Yeah, Ernie was the same way. So it does allow for flexibility still. More flexibility than it would be if this were hard plastic. Then he really wouldn't be able to move much. Obviously, if you want to swap out the head, you could pop it off. We'll do that a bit later. But yeah, very impressed. Got all of his spiky hair up there. One thing I don't like, something I noticed with Ernie as well, is this seam line that runs all the way across the back of Bert's head. It's pretty apparent on Ernie's alternate open mouth head and wasn't really there on his main one. It's unfortunate to see that seam line on both of Bert's heads, even more prominent on this open one. Obviously, these are toys at the end of the day. They're action figures. They have to be assembled somehow. So yeah, unfortunate that that's there, but it's really not that apparent. But like at some angles, it kind of looks like his mouth goes all the way across his head. But again, whatever, it is how it is. When my biggest complaint about an item, why? I should not have done that halfway through time. Oh my god. Hold on, no, I need to put the back. As I was saying, when my biggest complaint about an item is something that you barely see, you know, you'd only see this if he's facing the back, then you know, I think it's a very good item when my biggest complaint is something that small, or there's a small seam line on the back. You know, stuff like that, how the item's produced, you kind of have to let it slide. Bert has arm articulation, pretty similar to Ernie here. Hinge here. A ball hinge with a hinge here. That's what I meant. And then a ball hinge here as well. So you get him in quite a bit of poses. Hands can move in and out. Hands are actually kind of a soft plastic piece, which is interesting. Ernie's were a bit more solid. And again, he comes with several alternate hands we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, you can do a lot of different movements with him. Freeze, Bert! You're under arrest! Ah, what did I do? He was smuggling pigeons, guys. Real shame. I'm gonna miss that guy. Much like with Ernie, the hinge here, the joint itself, is not painted, and I get why they would do that. Ooh, it would probably rub off very easily if you did, and just painted joints is not a thing you see on action figures often. I will say, I think Ernie did a much better job at hiding the unpainted joint. It doesn't look as apparent on him just because the red stripes are a bit thicker. With Bert, that hinge is pretty obviously a break in color from the rest of him. But again, super niche, super obscure, and another thing that's just tied to the fact that this is a toy. This is an action figure, this is a collectible, posable figure, and these are just kind of the sacrifices that you have to make there. So I really don't mind, yeah. Moving around to the back, again, you can see just how well detailed this is. Loving all the felt dots, just like the old Palisades figures. Really great detail. We have his turtleneck, very well detailed again. And all of the stitching here on the sweater, absolutely love that. These are details like I wouldn't even think to include. I love how well thought out these figures are. Adding the stitching detailing, not just on the soft plastic piece, or the vinyl piece, but on the sleeves as well. It's really just insanely good detail with the texturing and everything. Bert's legs have a full range of motion. If you want him to do the splits, you can. Looks like we have a kind of ball joint and a joint here. I believe these are typically called butterfly joints, if I remember correctly. Look at that, look at that. You really make this guy do the pigeon. I mean, you could have his legs turned the complete wrong way. I think if I move my legs like this, they'd probably break. Luckily for us, Bert here is made of plastic. Just like with Ernie, they do a pretty good job at hiding the joints in the knees here, not making them visible in the front, although you could obviously tell there's a break, but they had the pants kind of move over and cover the front joint, so only the back ones are apparent. Again, even has the seams detailed into the pants and the folds and the creases and everything. Really, really nice. Another detail I really like, the laces on his shoes, really, really nice looking. And while Ernie's shoes were really dirty and had a lot of weathering detailing on them, you can see that Bert's shoes are nice and clean. Just a nice little way to show personality. I don't even know if that's intentional, but I think with how well thought out these figures are, I think honestly it's got to be. They do look a little yellowed, but hey, that makes sense. Nobody's shoes are perfectly clean, right? Of course, we have peg holes if you want to attach them to a stand. No stand is included with this guy, and you also just have your typical legal information, Sesame Workshop, and all that. Copyright date is 2024. That's when these guys were originally supposed to come out, but they were delayed a little bit. So now let's take, whoa, zoomed way too far out. Let's take a look at some of Bert's alternate pieces and accessories. Up first, we have this alternate head, which I think is the one I prefer of the two, but these are both definitely pretty good likenesses to Bert here. This one a bit more stern with the open mouth. Let's pop Bert's head off here. You can see the ball joint underneath. I actually had quite a bit of difficulty putting Ernie's head on. Let's hope Bert's is a little easier. All right, I've swapped out Bert's head, and while it wasn't as difficult to do as Ernie, it was still pretty annoying. What really gets in the way is the hair, having to push the head on without trying to damage the hair and warp it and move it and not impale your hands on it. Can be pretty frustrating. Luckily for us, my Bert had a workaround. His hair came off. His hair comes off. This is like that weird Lost Media sketch where Ernie runs a barber shop. I don't know if that was intentional, but both of the Bert heads had hair that just popped off. Yeah. So that definitely made swapping the heads a bit easier. I wasn't ramming my hand into a bunch of spiky hairs, and they go on just fine. I don't think I broke it or anything. Obviously, it came off and went right back on pretty easily, which does make me want to test one thing. Oh, it's hideous! What have I done? Okay, so for the record, it looks like you can't swap Bert's hair. Yeah, his hair isn't swappable. I don't know why you'd want to swap it. But, yeah, the attachment method for the hair is a little different for both of these. I don't know why it's kind of removable. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but definitely makes swapping the heads easier. Oh, guys, this is just the worst thing. Okay. Okay, so they went on like this, right? So could I flip the eyebrows, or can they only go in the one way? Oh, you can't flip them. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, they only go in the way they were intended to. So you have the angry eyebrows, and then we have the happy eyebrows. So you could have Bert with the open mouth. Oh, that's nice. I actually quite like that. That looks pretty in character for a smiling Bert. And then we can also make, oh, this look. Oh, that's classic Bert right there. Look at that. Wow, the concept of having the swappable eyebrows. Genius. Absolutely love that. So much character and additional posability. It's like he's gone from having 2 heads to 4. I'm genuinely impressed. For the purposes of this review, I'm going to stick to the ones that he came with in the box. But when I display these guys, I might swap them around a bit. I really am impressed with how that turned out. Now, as for the hands, we have these pointing hands. Bert can do some finger guns. Hands are very easy to pop off and put back on. If you collect any action figure lines these days, you're probably well aware of alternate hands. Bert, come on, get your hand off, Bert. I was like, yeah, it's super easy to remove the hands. Immediately struggles with removing the hands. Okay, so we got 1 pointing finger and 2. There we go. All right. And then I think, look at him. It's such a dumb pose. I love it. And then I think his other set of hands, are they his grabbing hands? Yeah, we have grabbing hands, so he could hold stuff like his book or his his other thing. So for the purposes of this part of the review, swap the hands out for his gripping hands. There we go. Okay. Oh wait, that's not the grabbing hand. Here we go. This is the other grabbing hand. All right, now let's take a look at Bert's accessories. Oh, he looks like he's about to throw hands. Looks like he's about to fight. First accessory for Bert here is the letter A. Just like Ernie, he comes with one of the letter Muppets, and this guy looks so funny to me. You can tell he's very clearly based on a very specific letter Muppet from Sesame Street. Looks just like it. A lot of personality here. I love how you can see the little mouth popping out, textured, three-dimensional. It's really, really impressive. Really good. I think I prefer the C. It's just a bit cuter. This guy looks kind of cursed, honestly, but yeah, the first few figures should spell out the letters for NECA, which I think is a bit like too kind of, I don't know. Like, do people want to spell the toy company's name? You know, like I don't really care. I like the letters. I don't think it's necessary to spell the name of the toy company. Moving on to Bert's more in-character accessories, we have this pigeon here. Probably just have this be Bernice. Looking pretty good. I do like that they made it look like a realistic pigeon, just like how on Sesame Street, again, they always use real pigeons. Head is kind of tilted to the side too, adding a little bit more personality, which I really like that they did that there. Bert also has his Boring Stories book, one of my favorite Bert-related visual gags. I was really hoping this would open and close. It doesn't. I do like that the pages actually kind of have a lump in the middle, showing you that it's pretty far into the book and it's been kind of the pages have collected and kind of shaped and formed a bit, even though I don't think I've ever had a book this thin have the pages do that and get all rounded on the edges. Yeah, I was really hoping this would have a hinge, but I don't know. I don't really mind. Fits into Bert's grabbing hands incredibly easily. Now we could read some Boring Stories. Absolutely love that. That is great. What does have the ability to fold, though, it looks like, is Bert's paperclip collection. Couldn't have Bert without it. And the box says, boy oh boy. We have some little Muppet horses on it. Yeah, that is, wow, this is really nice. Kind of like a cigar box or something that he's storing the paper clips in. I assume that the lid is a reference to the actual prop. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, again, constantly impressed by these. Look at that. Ernie didn't come with that many accessories. Bert definitely comes with a few more, which makes sense. Bert is a bit of a smaller figure. Obviously, he's taller, but he's much thinner than Ernie. Takes up a little less space in the box. And Bert just has a lot more specific items tied to him. You know, Ernie just came with Rubber Ducky and the painting and the letter. Bert comes with a lot of his sort of iconic character-specific items, including that board of paper clips. Not the same as the one that we saw on the box, which is perfectly fine, obviously. And this is actually framed with a little stand on the back, so you could stand it up places a bit more easily. I am, once again, incredibly impressed by these NECA Ultimate Sesame Street figures, and I cannot wait to add the count to my collection and continue to see what they make in the future. I am really, really optimistic about this line. Stay there, Bert's head, come on! A lot of really great stuff here. So many fun characters and fun and obscure accessories that they can make. I think Ernie's probably my favorite of the two figures, but Ernie is my favorite character out of Ernie and Bert, so maybe there's a little bit of bias there. But yeah, genuinely, really, really great looking. And what better way to end this review, we're just gonna move Bert's head out of the way, than by bringing Ernie and Bert together. Look at them. Oh, so happy to have these two together. That is absolutely crazy. And you know what? The letters C and A can join them as well. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of this figure down in the comments. Who else you hope to see join this line very soon. Again, the next figure is the Count, and he's hitting stores now at Target. I've heard he's kind of first to market at Target. Been trying to find him for the past few weeks. Hopefully I can. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.